Big dog, I've updated my hero deck into the next budget meta. Heroes are one of those really interesting decks where we know that nothing is going to happen to it on the ban list. It's getting some support in the upcoming set. You can go ahead and check out this video if you want to know more about that. And it actually has some strengths against some of the top decks in the game right now, while also being a really good budget deck. And since you guys have requested that I do an updated hero deck profile for the budget players, I just thought that I would give you one. So let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, big dog, so before we get into this deck profile, there's a couple of things we have to talk about. First of all, when it comes to competitiveness in heroes, there's actually so many brilliant minds on this deck, and we all recognize what this deck does best. When picking a budget deck, you can't pick it just because it's cheap. It actually has to have some quantities that are pretty good against the meta. One thing that I've noticed about this current Yu-Gi-Oh meta is that most strategies are weak to cards like Skill Drain and Dimension Shifter, and it just so happens to be that heroes can play both of those cards. With heroes, the game plan has never been more simple. A lot of times being able to summon Mass Hero Dark Law or Destiny Hero Plasma can make a Snake Eyes or a Yubel or pretty much anyone playing Fiendsmith, it makes their day completely terrible. But another thing that I really noticed that's good for heroes in the format is Board Breaker. Heroes have never been a really good deck at playing a ton of hand traps, but since Yu-Gi-Oh has softened up a bit with its Omni negation cards like Better on the Floor in Borreload Savage Dragon, board breakers are a thing. And this also puts a budget hero deck in the prime position to be able to succeed. Now, like I said, I'm not the only person that's saying that heroes does have a chance. There's some other amazing channels that are dedicated to heroes. Channels such as Blake Hero, Xmas Hero, and even D-Time are incredible resources to use. And if any of them boys want a Dark Phoenix Rises playmat, they can go ahead and hit me up. And that brings me to my second thing. Right now, big dogs, not only can you go to TheCaliEffect.com and pick up a host of really good mats, you can also go ahead and get your Raven Wing sleeves today. These are easily some of the best sleeves in the game, but I'm getting beside myself. Let's go ahead and talk about these changes and why this deck can still be a budget meta strategy. All right, big dogs, I decided to split this deck up into different alignments to help you understand what I play and how I play it. For the hero monsters, there's 3 copies of Elemental Hero Stratos, 1 Liquid Soldier, 1 Neos, 1 Shadow Mist. This is pretty standard for just about any hero deck you'll find. And the reason why is because every single one of these hero monsters plays a really important role into the deck, especially when it comes to getting the cards you need and fusion summoning. Now, when the Wing Kuriboh level 6 made its debut, I wasn't able to talk about this card, mainly because I didn't do a deck profile, but I can talk about this card right now. I actually really like this card. Some of the biggest reasons why I think that this card is good is because it is a searchable, high-level hero monster that you can add from your deck to your hand, and also, it's a monster that you can easily summon to your side of the field that just so happens to be a hero as well. Also, being able to use this card to stop powerful monster effects like IP Masquerena, Appaloosa Bull of the Goddess, and SP Little Knight is incredibly valuable in this meta. This is that optional hero card that you can cut, but I think it comes up especially since I'm playing a card that a lot of people find controversial. But we'll talk about that in a second. To finish off the hero lineup, there's 3 copies of A Hero Lives, 1 copy of Miracle Fusion, 1 copy of Mass Change, 1 copy of Favorite Contact. I decided to drop down Mass Change is because we're making some changes in the extra deck that's also a little bit controversial. I'm also going to go ahead and say the take right here. The only reason why I'm playing Mass Change is because Dark Law is an FTK against some strategies, but to be honest with you guys, I would actually cut these 2 cards if it wasn't so powerful. So before you guys start going bonkers, yes, Mass Hero Dark Law is still an important piece. But one thing I want to talk to you guys about is the biggest reason why I was playing multiple copies of Mass Change was to use it to dodge cards like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Failure. Let's be real. That does not happen nearly as much as we wanted to. And while I do think that Dark Law is a really good card, I don't think that you need to put so much resources towards it. If you go through your combo, you're going to be able to get the Dark Law, which I'll show you guys in a second. It's pretty simple. Overall, I do think that the cards have a place for heroes right now, but I think that these cards are more utility than anything else. Now, moving on to the controversial card that I play inside of this deck, I still play 3 copies of E-Emergency Call, and it's fairly simple. So one of Hero's biggest beasts as a deck is bricking. And what I mean by bricking is not necessarily getting an unplayable hand. It's having undesirable cards inside of your deck. Mathematically, hero players play at least 3 bricks inside of their deck, so they have a 34% chance of opening. But what if you change the ratios to be able to accommodate that? In this particular build, I've dropped the hard bricks down to 1. There is 1 brick. Like 1 card that if you draw, it may be bad. But I ain't even gonna lie to you, even when I did draw the card, I showed you guys how you can manipulate it to getting its effects regardless. But that's getting beside the point. The reason why I play 3 copies of Emergency Call is because this is a 45 card Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Mathematically, it checks out. See, when you start to increase the numbers of your deck past 43, that's when drawing your one-ofs become a little bit harder. But what I did here in this particular profile is almost the opposite. I increased my card count, but I also increased the number of chances of me getting Elemental Hero Stratos, which is the most desirable card in the deck. And also, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of players were hitting my Extra Hero Inferno Devicer, and that is actually a really good choke point. So E-Call was also used to be able to get Elemental Hero Neos and Wing Kribo level 6 into my hand. And the cool thing about this is that if you go the lowest rarity, this particular pile is worth about 18 bucks. Which, to be honest with you, is ridiculously cheap. But let's go ahead and move on to the Destiny Hero cards, and the standard lineup is there. There's 3 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious, 1 Denier, and 1 Plasma. Look, big dogs, I ain't gonna tell you I was bugging when I was running 2 copies of Fusion Destiny. I run 3, I corrected that. But low-key, your boy was bugging when he was running 2 copies of Fusion Destiny. Now, low-key, there are points in times where your Fusion Destiny is completely useless. If you go through your full combo, you will not have enough Destiny Hero monsters to be able to resolve Fusion Destiny. But to be honest with you, if you go full combo, you probably have 1. And if your opponent interrupted you, more than likely you're going to need Destiny Hero monsters in the graveyard, and that's what Fusion Destiny's for. Also, keep in mind, a lot of times when you activate Fusion Destiny, you put your opponent on scaredy mode. Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer is still as powerful as it always has been. If your opponent does negate Fusion Destiny, you are not locked into Dark Hero monsters. Proceed as usual. A lot of times I use this card for absolute bait, which is pretty good. Moving on to the Vision Heroes, which I think we're gonna have a little bit of controversy. There's 3 copies of Vision Hero Ferris, 2 copies of Vion, and the 1 copy of Increase. No disrespect to the people that play 2 copies of Vision Hero Increase, because in case they draw 1, they'll always have another one in their deck to resolve. I've actually drawn the Increase, it happens. But I personally think that it is the worst logic to play a 2nd copy of a card because you don't want to see the first one. Bro, just increase your deck count. And of course, that doesn't always stop you from drawing that 1 increase, but if you haven't noticed about Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a lot of burn effects that's going around. Ghost Mourner, Lacrima, hell, Yubel is a whole inflicting damage deck. There were actually quite a few times in testing where I opened this card in hand, I was able to summon it to the field. It's not the end of the world to draw. It just needs a little bit of help from your opponent sometimes. But yeah, if I keep it 55th Street with you guys, the math checks out. If you play a 2nd increase inside of a 40 card deck, you have a 22% chance of opening one as opposed to a 10%. I actually decreased that percentage by playing more cards, and these cards are actually helpful. There's then the 1 copy of Polymerization and the Reinforcement of the Army to round out the heroes. Now, if we're talking about the numbers, the Destiny Hero package was about $3, and the Vision Hero package is 75 cents. Reinforcement of the Army and Polymerization can also be gotten for on the low. So far, I think that this deck is about $25. That is definitely a Zoomer's allowance. But I ain't gonna lie, big dogs, here's where things get a little bit expensive, because your going second board breaker cards need to be pristine if your deck is going to be cheap, unfortunately. With that being said, I play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, 3 copies of Book of Eclipse, 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent, and 1 copy of Called by the Grave. I think there's a good side and a bad side to this. Triple Tactics Talent and Forbidden Droplet cost more than the deck. Good news if you already have it. Also good news because you're probably gonna need to get them anyways. The bad news is, goddamn, the super rares got expensive. Regardless, I decided to play these cards instead of hand traps is for a few reasons. The first is that if you're going against the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh, you're gonna need 2, 3, 4, 5 hand traps and 1 card combos. That's something that Hero just can't do. Most fusion decks in Yu-Gi-Oh need multiple card hands to be able to function. But board breakers, you can actually draw 1 to 2 copies of those cards, and if you draw 2, you're guaranteed to break the board. If you draw 1, it's still a really good chance. Mathematically, big dogs, I'm just going with what I think is best for this deck, using board breakers to be able to not only break your opponent's board, but Droplet being able to get cards into the graveyard, and Book of Eclipse being able to save your cards, I thought was the best thing about the strategy. But now we got to talk about the 45th card. And I ain't even gonna cap, big dog. You already know what the 45th card is. I think River of the Warlords is just way too good to pass up in the main. Obviously, this card isn't as good going second, and just like the odds of drawing your increase are a lot lower because of an increased deck, so is Rivalry. But I also think if we're gonna harp over drawing the 1 copy of the Vision Hero Increase, we can also harp over drawing the 1 copy of the Rivalry of the Warlords. It's a game on which one you'll see first. Now, the rest of this cards come up to about $26.50, which puts the entire main board at around 50 bucks. And while I'm here, I actually want to talk about another card that I really wanted to play. I really considered it. It is a Dusted Gold in Dark Calling. I actually think that these cards are pretty good when going second. Being able to fusion summon into your Evil Hero Malicious Bane is actually kind of crazy when it comes to breaking a board. Also, another thing to talk about is that the new Evil Hero support that comes out will require a Dusted Gold. Personally, right now, I wouldn't go out of my way to pick up these cards, especially since a Dusted Gold is about $10. But in the future, when the Evil Hero support comes out, you're going to need a Dusted Gold. The extra deck is incredibly standard. There's 2 Cross Crusader, 1 Infernal Devicer, 1 Wonder Driver, 1 Decimator, 1 Flame Wingman, 1 Wake Up, 1 Neos, 1 Ab-Zero, 1 DPE, and 1 Sunriser. Here's where things get a little bit different. I'm only playing 1 copy of Master of Dark Law, which really shouldn't be a surprise. I only play 1 mass change inside of the deck, and to be honest with you, out of all of my games in testing, the second Dark Law does not come up. At least not enough to warrant a second Dark Law inside of 1 mass change deck. But again, if you guys want to play multiple copies of Mass Change and probably even play that Mass Hero Blast, be my guest. I don't think it's necessarily bad, I just decided to play other cards. Next is Destiny Hero Dystopia. We'll talk about this card later. Vision Hero Trinity. I actually think that this card is really good after you've negated your opponent's board. With a card like Forbidden Droplet, this creates an in-game scenario. Keep in mind, Link's monsters can't be in defense. And I got this from Xmas Hero, the 1 copy of Baguska. This card's kind of crazy. It's for the case that when you get Drolled or Dimension Shifter, because let's face it, with or without the E-Calls, this deck was gonna get Drolled and Dimension Shifter, and it's gonna cry against it. Baguska buys you another time against a lot of decks, which could mean you can sway the game back into your favor. Now, the extra deck is where things got a little bit expensive. Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, Elemental Hero Absolute Zero, Wake Up Your Elemental Hero, and Shining Neos Wingman, which is getting a reprint soon. All of this plus the additional cards came up to about 40 bucks. But that just so happens to make the entire hero deck, main deck and extra deck, under $100, which is crazy. Big dogs, I'm even developing a side deck which will keep this deck at that $100 range. I know Yu-Gi-Oh can be expensive compared to other card games, so $100, I'm telling you, is a deal. I'll be sure to give you guys the side deck ideas as well as the test stands on my Patreon as a special thank you for helping me pay my editors. But now that we're there, let's go ahead and show you this combo, which is incredibly standard. The combo requires any combination of these 2 cards and of course your Dark Phoenix Rises mat that you can get from TheCaliEffect.com. I'm gonna go ahead and show you this combo, and I'm a little slow, so I'm just gonna do it with these 2. We're gonna normal summon Stratos, activate its effect to get the last piece, then discard the Malicious to summon Vision Hero Ferris, and use the effect of Vision Hero Ferris to be able to place your Vision Hero Increase. Use the effect of Increase to tribute your Ferris and then summon itself to your side of the field, and then use the effect of your Increase again to summon out your Vion. Vion's effect sends Destiny Hero Denier from the deck to the graveyard and then banishes the Vision Hero Ferris to be able to add Polymerization from your deck to your hand. Now here's where we start playing with Destiny Hero Malicious. You banish Malicious, summon Malicious, and with these 2 warrior monsters, you're going to link into Extra Hero Cross Crusader and use the effect of Cross Crusader to summon Destiny Hero Malicious, and then use its other effect to tribute off your Destiny Hero Malicious to add Liquid Soldier to your hand. From here, we're going to banish our second Malicious to summon our third Malicious, and then we're going to link summon with these 2 monsters into our Extra Hero Infernal Deceiver and use its effect to be able to get a Hero Neos. You can skip this step if you just so happen to have E-Call in your hand, which kind of useful. Next, we're going to special summon our Destiny Hero Denier to our side of the field, use Denier's effect to put back the Malicious, and then Vion plus our Deceiver into our Extra Hero Wonder Driver. Now here we'll banish Destiny Hero Malicious to summon another copy, and if they nib us, keep in mind we still have Polymerization to fuse these 2 into our Infernal Flame Linkman, which then becomes our Sunriser to get Miracle Fusion, and then we can still fuse from there. Also, consequently, you can use the Polymerization to fuse with the Neos and the Destiny Hero Denier to summon DPE, but you won't be able to get the second effect of Infernal Rage. So I'm going to show you the big combo. We're going to use Polymerization, and we're going to fuse these 2 monsters. That allows us to summon DPE and reset our Polymerization. Then we're going to use the effect of Polymerization to fuse these 2 monsters. We're going to summon out Infernal Rage Wingman, and even if they Nibiru us here, we still get a DPE to destroy, and we still get the effect of our favorite contact to add to our hand. I'm not saying that this is completely Nibiru proof, I'm saying that we still have contingency balance. So let's add our favorite contact, then use our Elemental Hero Infernal Flame Wingman. Since it was fused with a normal monster, we can summon Sunrise and then use its effect. We can add Miracle Fusion from our decks to our hand. Then we can finish up by activating Miracle Fusion we can fuse the Infernal Flame Wingman and the Elemental Hero Neos into our Wake Up Your Elemental Hero. Really, really important that we do this. Now, gonna tell you guys something really cool. You're gonna set the favorite contact phase down and go to your end phase. If your opponent nibs you before you go into your end phase, you use DPE to destroy the Wake Up. It essentially is the exact same thing that I'm about to show you right now. In the end phase where we can't be Nibiru'd, really important that you go to the end phase. Destiny Hero Mike, aka D-Time, taught me this. You use your DPE to destroy your Wake Up Your Elemental Hero, then trigger both of the effects of your Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer and your Wake Up. We summon out that Elemental Hero Shadow Mist and use its effect to be able to get that one copy of Mass Change. And now we can use it on the Destiny Hero Denier to be able to summon that Mass Hero Dark Law to our side of the field. And on our opponent's turn, we can special summon back Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, which triggers the effect of Wonder Driver to get Mass Change if you guys have other cards you want to change, Miracle Fusion, or Polymerization. I actually like the Miracle Fusion route a little bit better. And the reason why is because Miracle Fusion does have a water monster in the graveyard for us to be able to fuse into Ab-Zero. Also, another thing to note, if you notice I didn't use Liquid Soldier's effect, that was on purpose. Sometimes you will opt into not using its effect because there are cards that you don't want to draw. Other times you will opt in to use its effect because you want to draw a card like Rivalry of the Warlord. It really depends on you. Oh, another one, and I got this one from Blake Hero. You can even use the effect of Favorite Contact here. You don't have to summon Elemental Hero Shining Neos because sometimes your opponent will put you in a position to summon early. What you can do is summon that Destiny Hero Dystopia I was talking about, which does have an attack increase because of Sunriser, so it can destroy a card on the field. This particular combo against even the best decks in the game falls short. And that's all that I have for the budget hero deck. I'm even going to be building a side deck that is incredibly budget and will help with the weaknesses. I'll be sure to put them on my Patreon as well as some test games as a special thank you for helping me prepare my editors. And of course, I'll catch you on the next video. Stay strong, guys, and shout out to everyone that plays heroes.